day trading group. Hello again, fellow beginner swing trading. Hope you're having a great trading day. Thank you for joining us for our swing trading show. And if you have any questions, please post them in the comments. We'll try to answer as many of your swing trading questions as we're able to. And otherwise, I'll kind of walk you through my swing trading processes and how I trade. Is going to be very different from the way John trades. Not as exciting, but it is a great way to, in my humble opinion, make money even if you're working or in school during the day. So I'll get started. I'm gonna, again, please let me know any questions you have. Can sound okay? Hey, Tanvir, glad to see you. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if sounds good. Cool. So again, thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump over to finviz.com, usually where I spend a large portion of my day. Is in the homepage of Finviz and also in the futures. So we can see where the current position of the markets are. I'm going to refresh this a little bit. We can see all the indices are a little bit up right now. So S&P's up about a point. NASDAQ's up 1.7. Dow's up 0.71. Another nice thing about Finviz is we can see the hot top gainers, top losers for the day. See a heat map. We also see who's running above or below their 50 SMA, etc. So I find this very useful. Trying to get the chat up on another machine so I could see. Yeah, we'll talk about the Pelosi thing a little bit. Yeah, I tend to try to not be political, but I'll talk about some of the repercussions that might have on any kind of longer term positions that you might look at swinging or investing in. So also another thing I look at the end of the day, I look at who's bottoming again a swing, and we can talk about, I don't know how much experience you have with swing trading in general. But we could talk about, what is swing trading, what's different about swing trading versus day trading or momentum or breakout trading, if y'all are interested in that. So please let me know in the chat again if how much experience you have with swing trading, if everybody knows what it is and how it works, and I won't waste my time in that area. So another thing I like to look at is the futures. We can see crude oil ran up to about 96.50. Natural gas ran up a little bit. It's been testing that 8 and then dropping a little bit. We'll look at it in the futures in a minute. Gold was up over 1,800. If you were in some of my earlier swing trading shows, you will have seen that I like commodities for swing trading because they have a nice cycle. So they go peak to trough and vice versa on a pretty regular cycle, which is great for swing trading because, again, that's what you're doing is you're swing trading either going from bottom to top or top to bottom. Okay, great. Now I can see the chat on another machine. So thank you all for joining us. Again, let me know what questions you might have. So then typically I look at the futures. So I'm using the futures to see what's going on. Well, who's making a move? We can see the various indices. We can see all the indices are trying to push up a little bit. We can see the Dow hasn't quite tested its recent high. Neither is the S&P, but the Nasdaq has broken its most recent high. So in a second we can look at the indices as well. Show us how to swing. I'll do my best, Byron. Thank you for joining us. So then we see the VIX it popped up, and I guess I'll talk about the Pelosi thing a little bit for a second. Yeah. is that trip to Taiwan caused a little bit of a pop in the VIX, but then we see it's now retracing back down. So right now the VIX is at about 22.7. I would expect, unless there's some other catalyst like a retaliation from China that causes any market turmoil, which I don't expect a lot of market turmoil from it. But the VIX should continue to retrace down to 20, 18, 16. One of the things we really like swinging is volatility using the VIX, and there's a couple ETFs that I typically use to swing the VIX. I like to use leveraged ETFs, and we'll take a look at a spreadsheet I have of a bunch of ETFs that map to these various categories that I use to swing these things. For swinging volatility long, I use UVXY, and for short, I use SVXY. And yes, Kelly, SVXY is shorting the VIX is probably my favorite trade because by definition, the VIX is rigged to retrace to its mean over time. So unless it gets some kind of pump, its nature is to revert to its mean to go down. So shorting the VIX when it pops up like this, and we made some good money on a couple of these pops using SVXY. So we see oil's going down. We'll look at investing.com in a minute too to see the current prices of oil, natural gas, etc. And again, I've got some ETFs that I like to use for oil, UCO or Gush going up, or DRIP or SCO going down. We see natural gas finally, it looks like it's trending down now. It ran up, didn't quite hit its previous 52-week high. Now it's trending down. The ETFs I use for natural gas are primarily Boyle for playing up and Kold, KOLD, for playing down. These guys are all also great day trading opportunities. You can make money trading these because they are very volatile. So Gush, Drip, UVXY, SVXY, Kold, Boyle, etc. So we see gold pushed up to 1800 and dipped a little. We'll see the dollar's a little bit stronger today, and that's putting a little bit of pressure on dollar commodity, any commodities that are denominated in dollars. So we have a bunch of other commodities have come down. You'll hear people talking that may be an indication that inflation is eventually headed back down because the commodity prices headed down. And I'll show you a bunch of ETFs that map to these. Then we see the price of the treasuries came down. They were running off on a risk-off play. So TLT, I know Tanavir we were talking this weekend about TLT. So it ran up nicely. It's probably turning down now as the prices of bonds is turning down. So again, we see the U.S. dollar pushed up a little bit. So again, that puts some pressure on dollar-denominated commodities. Now you also see this decline in the euro, decline in the yen, etc. I don't think we could see the FTSE. There's the European stock market, and you'll see some of the tickers, some of the symbols that I have on my current watch list have to do with those declines. I was hoping to catch these bounces. I didn't quite catch them. But I'm watching for another reversion back down where the European stock market and the euro, the euro broke down to parity where it was actually 1-to-1 or less of a dollar, which is rare. Hasn't happened for like 20 years. So a lot of people took European vacations. So I'll jump over to my current watch list. These are the stocks that I have on my real-time watch list. And I don't know if you guys can hear some of those bings in the background. Let me know if that's annoying. I can turn that guy off. But I have an automated system which collects data on these stocks in real time. And if one is moving up, or breaking out, or reaching my price target to buy, it will send me an email. And I'll show you what these emails look like. Again, this is how, when I used to work, I would get these emails at work. Even if I was working, I could take action. I also had, Sonia, my partner, was monitoring our watch list and could take action when we got alerted. So. I sound like a Buddhist? No, I'm not a Buddhist. Sorry. So here's some of the stocks I'm currently watching. BVN, which is a Peruvian gold, silver. Maybe I can get my actual watch list document up. They also have some copper, zinc, etc. So it has to do also with EVs, materials for EVs. You can see it was coming down. It ran up a little bit. I'm waiting for it to come down to this 514 area. You can see in Webull, you could set an alert. So I also have these alerts set in Webull, so I get alerted if my target price gets hit, and then I could take action on that. So if he comes down to 512, 510, etc., then I'll go long that as another gold silver miner, Peruvian. We own a number of gold and silver miners, and they're running pretty nicely right now. Some examples are like ASM, Fury, FURY, GAU, Goro, GORO. Then we also have a large position in an ETN, a gold ETN that pays monthly dividends, which is GLDI. The silver equivalent of that is SLVO. And we also have a Load, which is also a gold silver miner, and they do EV battery recycling. And that's one of the things I really like about Load is their EV battery recycling. So we've got, again, long positions in all those guys. Another gold silver miner we've got is PZG. So again, we've got a number of miners, and then also a large position in both GLDI and SLVO. And you'll see the equivalent for oil, the Credit Suisse equivalent monthly dividend paying ETN for oil is USOI. And as oil's been pushing down, you can see USOI has been declining. When it reaches this support level somewhere in here, I'd like to buy a nice big chunk of USOI and collect those monthly dividends. It pays an annual yield of about 22%. So again, that's another way to recession-proof, inflation-proof your portfolio is with these dividend paying. If they're paying over the rate of inflation, then you're making money. If you're getting less than the rate of inflation, then you're losing money. If you have cash in the bank, it's losing money due to inflation. So I'm trying to check the chat a little bit. Oh yeah, Mullen to the moon. Good luck. KKR to the moon. KRKR to the moon. Yeah, good luck. So again, you'll find I'm not much into meme stocks. I don't like chasing stuff. Again, very laid back. This is the beach bum trading mindset, you know. And again, this is great for if you have to work or whatever. You can kind of put your orders in at the price that you want to buy something, and if it hits, great. You know, it's all about risk reward and support and resistance. So if we get time, those are a couple of the topics I wanted to talk about. As you see all these support and resistance levels, or what they call pivot points, and you can see I utilize those a lot, both for setting my buy prices and also for manually moving my stops up. We recently had a couple winners. Big Lots was a nice winner, and I've been manually moving my stop up to trail it as it moved up. We can look at that one real quickly. It's a good example of a swing trade. So I'll zoom in a little bit. Let's see how 3 months looks. Okay. So yeah, we bought this guy when he turned up, bounced off that support. We got it about 1881. So typically I don't get the cheapest price. I wait for it to turn up, break the VWAP, and then I will manually move my stops up as it progresses. And I usually trail it by 1 to 2 of these support levels. And then when it rolls over, you can see it rolled over yesterday. I had my stop just below that support level. It hit my stop, but I collected a nice profit on Big Lots. Similarly, I had KTOS. We had a long-term swing in that, got a very small profit in there. So I'll go back to my watch list. This is on the European FTSE. As I mentioned, I was hoping to catch the bounce. I didn't get in on the bounce, but if we get a little bit of a retracement, any kind of negative news in Europe, we'd like to go long that one because we think the move was outsized. This is similar on Brazil. Brazil is producing a lot of grain. Again, it's also an emerging market opportunity. This was recommended to me by another trader I respect who said that was a good one. You could see it also bounced off of support to run up. So we're looking for a retracement on that to swing that one long. If we zoom out on these guys, you'll see they've got plenty of range. I'm always looking for a two or better reward to risk ratio in the swing trades that I like to take. So again, these things, they take a while. You can see it takes months to go from the bottom to the top of a swing and then back from the top to the bottom. Somebody says BTC is pumping now. Just an FYI, there's some ETFs now that you can trade Bitcoin if you can't trade it in a retirement account directly and you want to swing Bitcoin long or short. There's 2 ETFs that I've got in my spreadsheet. BITO is the long on Bitcoin and BITI is the short on Bitcoin. So again, I can't typically buy cryptocurrency directly in retirement accounts, IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401ks, etc. Although I guess they're changing. There's a few that you can use those now. So FONR is another one. It's a medical device company that we're watching. Again, you see it's kind of stabilized at the support level. I'd like it a little bit cheaper, but if it is stable and starts to swing up, which it may be doing, this is a profitable medical device company. They do MRIs. So again, I like profitable healthcare. I'm staying away from unprofitable biotechs and unprofitable healthcare because we're headed into a recession. Money's going to get tight. Those guys burn a lot of money. They're going to have a hard time raising more money. So again, I'm looking for profitable healthcare stocks. Kold, I mentioned, is the short on natural gas. It did look like it was going to, natural gas might pop back up, and then Kold would bottom. And if it did, again, I would take a scalping position in Kold. You see it's natural gas is declining, so Kold is running up. The inverse of Kold is boil. So this is to long natural gas. So you see it ran up and now it's declining. So Kold is going up. So again, that's, it's been oil and natural gas have been very volatile. So great day trading opportunities, but you need to be very nimble. Make sure you're using stops, etc. Because we've seen like 5% moves up and down in natural gas recently. So be careful, but there are good day trading, swing trading, scalping opportunities in natural gas and in oil recently. ULE, again, is a long on the euro. We mentioned that from what we saw in the futures. USOI, again, we talked about this monthly dividend paying. ETN on oil, again, if it dips, maybe even this 450 level, I'd like to get a big chunk and start just collecting monthly dividends on oil as well as gold and silver. Another thing for inflation-proofing your recession or recession-proofing your portfolio and inflation-proofing your portfolio that we might talk about in more detail is some of the REITs. We own a couple of the REITs. Currently, I think we own Stag. It's maybe the only REIT, but I also like O, which is Realty Income, and LTC, which is a health facility REIT. I do not like the mortgage-backed REITs because we see declining mortgages, increasing defaults, etc. So, how do I know what the risk is? That's a good question. Okay, so that gets me into these pivot points and support and resistance. And this was, just so you know, and I'll share this because I think it's very beneficial. It was to me, is my real epiphany in being consistently profitable as a swing trader is, number one, learning support and resistance and risk and reward. And also, originally, I was what I call a bottom fishing, scalping swing trader, and I always thought I had to get things at the 52-week low, and then I'm a cheapskate. So, but I learned that where you want to get things is a support level. So, okay, I've got a couple Investopedia articles on support and resistance and pivot points, and I'll just let that come up, and then let's talk about how do you figure out the risk reward. Do you have a good one you want to use as a candidate? Or I can look at some of the ones. Let's look at one that we just had in Webull. So here, if I want to buy Yang around 10, and right now it's at like 16, 17, I've drawn this line at a support level, a long-term support level. So in this case, it may be even okay, so we can see where that support level is. So my risk is wherever the current price is down to that support. My potential reward, if I'm looking at, a long-term swing, would be 15 to 40, 48. So I've got a 23 potential reward, or shorter term, there's a 23 as a price, so I've got an $8 potential reward, and I've got a $6 potential risk. Well, that's not very attractive for that time frame. If I'm looking to hold it even longer, and I think it's eventually going to go back up to 48, then I've got a $23 reward. I've got a $5, $6 risk. That's 4 to 1, 5 to 1. So that's a pretty nice risk reward. So since we're also talking about that right now, I'll show you my ETF spreadsheet. This is a Google sheet. I don't recall if we talked about this last time on the show, but Douglas PC, who's also a frequenter of the beginner trading Discord, turned us on to these Google Finance functions that you can use in Google Sheets. And when the formula comes up, we'll be able to see that you can call a function in Google Sheets, Google Finance. You can get the price, you can get the 52-week low, the 52-week high, etc. So for all of these, you'll see I've got a support and resistance level, which I gather through another means, through an API, and I populate it in my database, and then I automatically populate this Google sheet from my database at the end of each day to populate those support and resistance, because the Google Finance functions don't have that. But again, I have another API that will give me pivot points, and I can determine, given the current price, what's the nearest support level to the current price, what's the nearest resistance level, which again is these lines, right? So it finds the nearest one to the current price and sets that as the support and resistance. And from that, the risk is the current price from the support level. The potential reward is the resistance level minus the current price. And then I've got a risk to reward ratio, which is just dividing that risk level, dividing the reward level by the risk level. And again, I always want to see a ratio ideally of 2 or greater, so I have a conditional highlighting in there that highlights the cells in green if the risk reward is greater than 2. So since I jumped off on this topic, I'll just show you this ETF comparison spreadsheet as I use this to identify attractive potential swing trades. And at the end of each day, as part of my after hours process, I go through this ETF spreadsheet and identify anybody who looks like, okay, given their current price, if they've got a green in that cell, it looks like they're a potential candidate for a good swing trade. And then I look, okay, where is the current price relative to the support, relative to its 52-week low, relative to its bottom. So again, I have to manually determine the bottom, which I do in FinViz. So what were we looking at, ARC or SARC? So you see I've got ARC K, long ARC K, and short ARC K, which is an ETF called SARC. So if we just look at ARC K in FinViz, and again, here's another good way to identify support and resistance lines, is FinViz is also drawing various support and resistance lines. So we could see, okay, it's on an upward trend, an upward channel, but if I were to identify the nearest resistance level, I'd go down to there and say, okay, 35.10 is kind of the bottom of the latest swing. And then if I want to find the ultimate bottom, I would zoom all the way out. If I want to find the bottom and the top, and then I just find the lowest point it's had in the monthly chart and the highest point, and I'd say, okay, that's the bottom, that's the top. And then in FinViz, you can get the 52-week range right there. So again, you know, different levels, different time frames, etc. Well, whether you like Cathie Wood or not, you can either long Cathie with ARC K, or you can short Cathie with SARK if you want to short it. So you can see right now SARK is 50.78. I've got a support level of 50.64, so it looks like it's pretty close to its support level, but it's only got a range up to 80. So it's close to support, but the risk reward isn't all that great. So again, I mentioned this. This is the spreadsheet that I use to again identify various categories that have an ETF that have a potential attractive swing right now based on, okay, the risk reward is greater than 2. Ideally, I'd like to see a green in both the current risk reward and also the support to resistance. So we can see, you know, low to high, 52-week, bottom to top, etc. So if we find a couple of the ones that we have on our watch list, that's where's our Euro guy, ULE. So he's got a pretty decent risk reward there, not so great there. EURL, that's another one on Europe, long Europe. You can see it's got greens all the way across. So again, that's why I would take a look at that chart. If it looks good, looks like a good swing, then I add it to my watch list, and that's why that guy's on my watch list. So again, all kinds of commodities. So when we look at the futures and we see something that looks like it's down, then we can jump over here and say, okay, you know, what's the risk reward look like from our known support and resistance levels? And do we want to add it to our watch list? Do we want to go long on a swing? Here's Kold right now. We can see it's a little bit of ways from the current support. Actually, I have an order sitting right there at that support level that if natural gas happens to spike back up to its 52-week high, that order will already automatically hit, and I'll go long for another scalping position on Kold. We have a longer term short on natural gas using Kold, a pretty sizable position, but I would take an additional scalping position if it spikes up to its 52-week high again. So if there's any, you know, particular categories people want to see, we've got oil. We talked about gush to long, drip to short. Also got UCO to long, SCO to short. So if you have any questions about a particular commodity, we can also see, I use these to long and short the indices. Here's the Russells. You can long the Russell using URTY, short the Russell using SRTY, S&P. So I've got SU Pro and SPXS, I think are the ones that I prefer. Here's semiconductors. You can see semiconductors is currently, actually, I just got an alert saying SOXL is moving up. So semiconductors are currently moving up. So SOXL would be going up, SOXS would be going down. Well, I can't tell you why you didn't buy Moderna at the opening. So again, gold, silver also for long-term investment. If you're looking to either, hold something for a long term, if you want a dollar cost average, I'm not a huge fan of. I prefer more active trading. So I think my opinion, my hypothesis is if you're a little more active, you can get dips and swings. And we've scalped BTI recently a couple times very nicely. But if you want to just buy and hold for a long time, we prefer BTI. Again, we're not financial advisors. This is educational purposes only, but that's the one that we would hold for the stock market to go back up. You can see I've got a big buy sitting at this 52-week low of 180, 167. I've got very large buys just sitting there waiting for the markets to dip. So if the markets do crash again, it'll hit those buys and we'll go long VTI to wait for the stock market to go up. Talked about TLT was looking kind of attractive. It's a little bit above its support level. And again, I know Tanavir, we were talking about that this weekend. So again, that's all the ETF stuff. We can talk more about support and resistance if y'all want to. I can put this, I think I can put this link to the Investopedia. This is the search results on Investopedia. Hopefully it'll let me put that in the comments. Apparently not. So yeah, I don't have access to paste it in the comments through the StreamYard. So Investopedia, I think, is a great resource for all kinds of topics. You can see I just searched on support and resistance and then also on pivot points, and you can see a number of articles. These are good. They define, what are support and resistance lines. There's also a nice one on pivot points. And one thing to note with the pivot points in different platforms is I've learned that even though the calculation of a pivot point is pretty well defined. So here's formulas, calculations, how to calculate pivot points. I've noticed in the different trading platforms that the pivot points can differ. So if you look at, support level 1 or whatever in Webull, and then you look at it in Thinkorswim, they may actually be slightly different. And so typically when I'm looking at particularly moving a stop, I will take the lower of the two pivot points, because I've noticed, again, both the pivot points and also even the VWAP will change. You see in Webull, you can see what the current value of the VWAP is up here. And if you look at Thinkorswim, it may be slightly different. I guess they use different data to calculate these, and they can come up with a little bit of a different answer. So again, I use both platforms to compare, and then typically we'll use the lower one when I'm moving a stop up. So I hope that helps. And again, if we talk more about pivot points and support and resistance if you want, but again, that was kind of the epiphany for me to become a consistently profitable trader, is finding stocks that are approaching a support level. When they stabilize at a support level, swing back up, break the VWAP, that's my buy signal. And then I'm going to trail it manually with a stop. I wait for it to break through. So if we go back to that big lots trade, you see as it broke through these various pivot points, support and resistance levels. So as it breaks above successive levels, I would move my stop and stay one level behind it. When it breaks at R1, I'd go to P. When it breaks R2, I went to R1, and you see that it rolled over and stopped us out when it broke through R1. So that was my profit. So I'm letting the winner run, trailing it with a stop. When it rolls over, then I'll get stopped out. I'll take my profit and be happy and wait for it to swing back down to another support line, and then we'll play this all again. So if that guy doesn't do it, then we'll find somebody else who, again, is approaching a nice support, got a stable, and then is turning up. So that's kind of, again, my overall philosophy. So Ninja's saying late prints out of range at 8 a.m. Eastern affect VWAP. I don't know. I've been asking the question why the different platforms have different values for pivot points in VWAP, and the only answers I've heard consistently is that their data must be different, because again the calculation seems to be pretty standard, so it has to be the frequency of the data, the data they're getting, probably more so than the calculation. So are there any other tickers that you guys want me to look at from a swing trading standpoint? Any other topics you want to talk about? I will show you another watch list we're currently watching. But throw your questions up in the chat. You can always hit me up if you tag me using Beach Bum Trading in the Discords, in either our Discord or the Beginner Trading Discord. Yeah, just tag me. I'll see it and I'll respond as I'm able to. You can always, or you can always contact us via social media as well. So our concept of our bullpen is these are not on a real-time watch list, so my automated systems isn't polling these guys in real time. But what I do is at the end of the day is I take a quick spin through these guys, and the concept is they're in the bullpen, they're ready to be put in the game if they present an attractive setup. So you can see we put big lots back into the bullpen. We're waiting to see if it's going to come back down. If it does, then again, we would be interested in big lots. Clicks is an ETF. And thank you, John, Beginner Trading, for posting our link to our YouTube. We appreciate it. Yes, we'd love to have you all subscribe to our channel as well. Again, we're focused on swing trading, but again, if you're working part-time, full-time, in school part of the time, I think swing trading is a great way to supplement any day trading you could do. Again, takes less time, it's less stressful, less exciting probably. You'll see I don't take a lot of trades during the week. I'm pretty selective, and spend a lot of time managing my winners and managing my trades, and essentially looking for the next good swing, the next theme that we want to trade. I'll try not to babble too much, but one of the ones we are looking at recently was uranium, with oil and energy running up and down. We made some nice trades in uranium, waiting for that to come back down. If so, we would scalp some uraniums again as well. Clicks here is a ETF, which is long online e-commerce and short brick and mortar stores. It's pretty choppy. But we're waiting for that to come back down. We think the theme is a good idea. ECH is a Chilean ETF. So again, you see a lot of these emerging market guys, they were coming down. This guy bounced pretty quickly. We didn't catch it at the time. So we'll see if it comes back down. Pitney Bowes is what we had on the watch list. They had really crummy earnings. It really broke down. I think this is a potential turnaround play. We did a recent due diligence video on Pitney Bowes that you can see. And again, you'll hear that we think that's a potential turnaround play. But right now, given their earnings, the sentiment's very negative. So I'm just waiting for this to reach a stable bottom, wherever that may be, and swing back up. And then we would go long for a long-term swing on Pitney Bowes. They are profitable. They seem very committed to their dividend. It does pay a dividend. It's not a big dividend, but TMF, we talked about TLT a bit ago, and TMF is another ETF I have on treasuries that I kind of like, and we can see the risk reward. There's TLT, short-term risk reward's a little bit better, but the longer-term risk reward on TMF is a little bit better. So again, I'm watching TMF in the bullpen. If it comes down to that $10 area, we would go long TMF, which is again on 20-year treasuries. These guys are both on the 20-year treasuries. But again, shorter term TLT is a little more attractive. Longer term TMF is a little more attractive. So that's kind of our bullpen stocks. So again, at the end of the day, I whip through this list real quickly, see if anybody looks like a good setup. If they run away and I want to take them off, I take them off. And then, we go through and we look at the futures, the groups, the sectors. I'll show you that a little bit in FinViz before we wrap up. But again, part of my process at the end of the day is I look at the futures in FinViz and I look at the sectors, do the sector analysis in FinViz. So you hit the groups tab, go to sectors. And again, I've got videos that detail more about how to use the futures tab, how to use the groups tab, etc., how to identify hot stocks in a hot industry in FinViz. But we can see right now communication services, technology, real estate are outperforming today. We see the worst performers today are energy, utilities, basic material. What we've been seeing is a sector rotation. So every day or so, energy was hot, and now it's not. Now it's at the bottom. A couple days ago, energy and basic materials were hot. So my theory and what I'm recommending in terms of swing trading plays is playing this sector rotation. When we see energy bottom and start to swing back up, we're going to play energy. Same thing with basic materials. Real estate has got its own things. Technology, the key for, in my opinion, going into a recession is profitable technology. So we see a longer term for the week. Energy, basic materials are down. For the month, it's kind of in the middle. So technology has been having a good month right now. We see longer term utilities has been hot. I think, and I've heard that there's a rotation now out of utilities. So very recently, I identified this ETF to short utilities, which is SDP. So again, you can see I'm looking for it to come down just a little bit. The risk reward is not great. Short term's pretty good. So I'm debating. I think there's an opportunity to short utilities because it has kind of run up, and I think the sector rotation will be an opportunity to short utilities, which again you can do with SDP. So let's see what other questions we've got in our chat right now. Said any questions you have, throw them up to the chat. Any particular stocks you want me to look at from a swing trading standpoint. If you want, again, we could talk more about support resistance levels, pivot points, etc. Just a quick help is how to turn them on in Thinkers or in Weebles. Real easy. You just hit indicators. You can see it's one of the frequently used indicators. You just turn pivot points on. You turn them off if it gets annoying. Same way with VWAP. They have all kinds of indicators, so you can turn on others if you want, if you use different types, EMAs, RSIs, etc. I typically just have VWAP and pivot points on in my Weeble. In Thinkorswim, similarly, you can turn on the indicator. I think it's just called pivot points as well. So, you want to look at Tesla? I do have Tesla in my database, but I would only be interested at a much lower price. So here we can see, Tesla's at 900. Its most recent low was, 6 something. Looks like 623. So if I just, off cuff, I would say I'd buy it down here at 623. Probably not even then, because I'd zoom out. And 600 to 900 doesn't really offer a whole lot. It's 300, it's 50%. So, and then the next level, you see it's kind of testing its 50-day moving average right now. So again, the next support level would be somewhere in the 546, top at what? 1200. So that would be more attractive, and that's probably where I have my price target, is to get at least a 2-to-1 reward to risk level. So we can see it's run up quite a bit, I believe, but I can't remember the ticker right off the top of my head, but I think someone said there was now a ETF to short Tesla. So you don't even have to borrow the shares to short it. I think there's an ETF to short Tesla or something like that. So one of the things I like about ETFs, again, if you're trading in a retirement account, you can't directly short individual stocks. So if you're in a 401k, a Roth, maybe some Roth IRAs, but IRAs, you typically can't short individual stocks. So ETFs is a great way. Plus, you don't have the borrow cost. So anything that I can short using an ETF is great, and that way I can play it both ways. There's a database, an ETF database, just to show you guys from our homepage, which is beachbumtrading.com, bum without the U. If you go down to the links category, we have all the tools, platforms, resources we use. So here's also all the links to our social media, but all these tools, FinViz, etc., ChartMill that we use for due diligence. So you see here's this link to ETF database. So you can search for ETFs by all kinds of different screeners, categories, topics. So you go to tools, Etf Screener, and then you could pick whatever category. You can see you do bonds, commodities, currencies, indices, etc. So, whatever you're interested in. If we want to see what ETF to play, corn, okay, there's only one, it's only long, called corn. So again, you can quickly find ETFs to be able to do long and short various topics using the ETF database. So find that very useful. And you can find all these tools, resources. There's a link to Investopedia, also investing.com. We can take a look at that real quickly. So I also use this pretty much all day to watch the indices and the commodities. I like this little chart here. So again, we can see right now the Dow's up 0.74, SP up 0.89, NASDAQ's up almost 1.6. The VIX is declining. It's at 22. We see the dollar index up a little bit. And I can also see the commodities real quickly. When from the futures, I wouldn't look at, yeah. Yeah, AMTD. Yeah. So again, you could see, okay, here's oil's down 2%, nat gas, and if you hover over these guys, it'll show you the current graph. So we can see oil's declining. Natural gas has been volatile, and it's currently declining. We see gold and silver down a little bit. Copper's down. So again, I find that very helpful. This is also where I get the economic news. So if you go news, economic calendar, you can see, what came out today. We see PMI was a little better than expected. Actually, that's kind of negative because that's a measure of inflation. So that's telling you inflation was a little bit hotter than expected. And this is on producers, purchasers. So it's on the front end of the curve, the supply chain, ISM. Again, hotter than expected. That's, it says inflation is still hot. We've been saying this for a long time. So again, you want to take that into account, your swing trades and your portfolio. The assumption is, we may not have hit peak inflation, but it's still going to be hot for some period of time. Same way we're in a technical recession, so you want your portfolio to be relatively recession-proof, etc. So if there aren't any further questions, did somebody ask about Walmart? Is that Walmart or Waste Management? WM? James asked about, let's see, I think WM's Waste Management. I think WMT is Walmart. So if you wanted Walmart, you have to look at that separately. So yeah, it's Waste Management. Again, you can see how nice and FinBiz it's telling you, where the support line is. There's a double bottom. So typically I'm looking for something, this has bounced off that double bottom once. It's run up. There's a resistance line. You'd kind of expect it to go test that and then probably bounce down or break out if there was some kind of catalyst for it to break out. So yeah, it's got a nice bottom there, doesn't have a whole lot of range up from there. So it's been running kind of high, cyclical, so it's got a nice cycle to it. Yeah. But, it's currently testing its recent highs. So if it's got a catalyst to break out, maybe, but chances are it'll probably cycle back down. So again, anybody have any questions? Let me know. Hit me up in the Discord. Hit me up in our social media links. I can get this to load real quick. I'll show you what some of the alerts that I get from my systems look like, because you could probably use a similar philosophy. Okay, so UVXY near 50. Yes, yeah, I'm watching UVXY, but I'm also watching the VIX. UVXY is a leveraged ETF, so it has some time decay. So I'm waiting for really the VIX to get down to around 20 would be the first level, and then 18 and then 16. So watch the VIX, see where the VIX bottoms, and then if you want to go long volatility, yeah, UVXY is what we would long volatility. I'd really like it at least 20 or below. If you want to play it shorter term, again, that's a great one you could day trade that, scalp it all the time. So here's an example of some of the email alerts that I get. So here's one I mentioned earlier that says Hoxel is moving up. So this is great. I can see trends in the market. Can be choppy, can be short term, but you can see it tells me what the current price is. It tells me what my target buy price is. Tells me what the potential upside is from there. And then I've also got some trending metrics that are being calculated. So it's telling me the volume per minute is down. So convexity is down, but it says price trend is up and convex is up. change per minute's increasing, and these I've got thresholds on these guys, so a number of these have to be up to send me this alert, and then it tells me again, near support level, near resistance. So again, this is all automation that I've got set up. So it sends me the alert. I can see, what's moving up, what's moving down. You see POW, that's a defense guy. WWR is a materials guy. If the markets are trending up or down, we see SVXY is moving up. That means the VIX is going down. So again, really quick way to identify trends. And then if I want to take action, I can do that. So if there aren't any further questions, I will tell John I'm ready to wrap up. Please, my current understanding is we're planning to do swing trading shows on Wednesday about 10:15 to 10:30, starting on pretty much a weekly basis. If y'all are interested, so tell John if you like this content, if you like this type of material, and what would you like me to cover? What would you like to learn more about swing trading? We can talk about, again, support resistance, pivot points more. We talk about particular tickers more. How to do stops if you'd like that. Anything you'd like. And again, tag me in the Discord and let me know. So, do you have a video on how your automation is set up? I just released one today that shows some of the my after hours process. And I also have a pre-market 4 a.m. shows part of my process. But if people are interested in more detail about the automation I have set up and how to do some of it, I can go into that in more detail if there's interest. Just again, I don't want to babble too much for this to go on too long, but my original goal was to have this as fully automated, which I found out wasn't practical at the time. So I make it as automated as I can, so I don't have to sit and watch screens all day. That's my goal. So let me let John know.
Hey, I'm here, Beach. So yeah, guys, everybody go sub to Beach Bum Trading. Sorry. Yeah, so everybody go sub to Beach Bum Trading. I'm going to post the link one more time in chat. I definitely appreciate it if you could go subscribe to Beach Bum, guys. And yeah, you guys have a good day. I do have to run, and so I hope everybody appreciated the show. Here's the link in chat, guys. Go check them out. And yeah, we'll see you guys later. Everybody thank Beach Bum for being here. He should be back next Wednesday, I think, as long as you can make it. And yeah, guys, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, John. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for attending.
Of course.
Have a great